Hey everybody, Bob Ciccarello. I am here at the Wings of Strength, the Olympia headquarters here in Chandler, Arizona. And I'm here with, of course, the Olympia owner and CEO of Wings of Strength, Mr. Jake Wood. What's up, Jake?
Yeah. Just having a great
Anything
time,
new?
Bob. Yeah, it's something new every single day.
Yeah.
Every day. It's all new every day.
We're definitely in some weird times here, but that obviously brings us to the point in hand. Lots of changes going on for this year, a lot of them unexpected. I'm sure you didn't see this coming when you purchased the Olympia, and all of a sudden you found yourself in this whirlwind of uncertainty and craziness.
I didn't expect it at all.
And I know you had some of these moves because we've talked prior that you had scheduled for, maybe next year, even the year after.
Yes.
And obviously that got sped up with all this COVID craziness and all that.
Well, some got sped up and some got the worst supposed to happen this year being put off to later years. So it just the COVID shuffle just kind of changed the mix on everything.
Yeah. Well, all things for a reason, Jake. We're going to take it as a positive moving forward. And I want to get into some of those changes in just a minute, but I want to take a few seconds to explore Jake Wood, the man behind the Olympia. A lot of people, don't know your background or how you even got involved in this crazy business of bodybuilding, but you've been bodybuilding for some years.
First time I ever seriously walked into a gym was 1976. I walked into Vince GIRONDA's gym.
There's an old name for the fans.
Yeah, not the good one there in North Hollywood, but the one over in Reseda.
Okay.
The second, the grade 2 Vince GIRONDA gym there. So,
Right.
Great place. I got to see some wonderful people, very inspiring. Yeah, until one day Vince kicked me out of the gym. Apparently I wasn't supposed to be kissing my girlfriend near the front desk. So,
listen, that's a badge of honor. They actually say you got kicked out of the gym by Vince GIRONDA is legendary. So now people got to remember the context. I actually just started training about that time. Mm-hmm. In my basement, I was just a kid, training. But so the idea of going to a real gym was still a little bit off for me. But you're talking about the old school gyms. Now, these aren't like the modern type. You're talking 76, 77. There wasn't a whole lot in these gyms.
Oh, yeah. Dumbbells, barbells, and benches is about it, So, yeah.
So that started your foray into bodybuilding. Now, at that point, are you training for other sports? Did you just how did you actually get into bodybuilding?
Well, because of football. I love playing football. I played football all my life, even through, partway through college, I'll put it that way.
Right.
So, but after Vince threw me out of his gym, I went, walked a few blocks over, and there's a guy named Don Peters who had a gym there.
Oh, another old name, yeah.
Yeah. Only Don's gym, honestly, was much better. Yeah, I mean, Don, handmade all of his own equipment there. This is the first time I ever saw equipment like that. It was great.
Now, for those who don't know, Don Peters was a big name back in the day. He won a lot of titles.
Oh yeah.
Competed in the Mr. America and other such. I got a few old covers as I collect old bodybuilding memorabilia in my spare time, which I seem to have a lot of these days.
Yeah.
But Don Peters was on a lot of those covers.
Oh yeah. I mean, that guy was popular. I mean, what a terrific. It's a beautiful physique. Let's just put it that way. It's a perfect representation of the way things were at that time. So, and obviously we've kind of gotten away from that, but perhaps there's good reason for that too.
So you're playing ball, you're lifting weights. Obviously, you're a very tall, big man. So obviously, football would have seemed a great natural way to go. Were your plans to go pro, NFL style? Like, where were your sights at that point?
At that point in time, I just wanted to play college football. Yeah, and I was sincerely looking at what was going on with a lot of my friends that had, gone through college ball, and some of them went on to pro ball, and I just looked at it, and to be honest with you, there's more money for me waiting in our family business than what there was in pro ball. So
probably. Yeah. And for those who don't know, what is the family business, Jake?
Aerospace. Mm-hmm. What we did for many years was manufactured internally threaded aircraft fasteners under 3/8 of an inch. Now I understand that's
very specific.
Very specific, but it matters a great deal.
Yeah.
Basically, we had 70% of the market for many, many years. Anytime you climb into anything made by Boeing, Airbus, the old McDonnell Douglas, now part of Boeing, Embraer to Raytheon to Cessna, we held it together. We still do. So.
Good way to put it. Held it together. I like that.
Without us, the planes fall apart.
That's exactly right. So let's fast forward a little bit. People got a little bit of background about you. Where you come from, Jake. When do you actually get interested in supporting bodybuilding. Now, I remember some years back when nobody knew who Wings of Strength was or any of that.
Right.
I know Tim Gardner was a very good friend of both of ours, was putting on some shows, and all of a sudden we see this Wings of Strength logo pop up, and they're going to sponsor, and you actually saved a few shows from extinction because they were going down, and all of a sudden here's a guy named Jake Wood in Wings of Strength.
Well, we didn't save any shows. We saved certain classes, women's bodybuilding class largely, and then we also love to support women's fitness and all the classes. When I discovered that I wasn't going to be a great bodybuilder, that's when I decided, hey, you know what? I think maybe I'd like to promote some shows and work in some shows and.
In all fairness, we don't have a lot of great bodybuilders at 6'5", 6", whatever you are, Jake. So.
That's how it was 1990s is when the thought was really born. And I was watching, paying attention, thinking, how do you do this? And of course, at the time, my wife at the time, she hated the idea. It was absolutely not. She didn't want me promoting any bodybuilding shows. And,
right.
She had other things in mind. And consequently, we couldn't decide to go the same direction in our lives, so things ended. And long about 2009, I was really looking, how do I get into this? How do I take the first step?
Sure.
What do I do? I had no idea. And then somebody told me, hey, Tim Gardner is having some issues there. You sure you can use a little bit of sponsorship to help make sure that he has the women's bodybuilding division. And I've been a huge fan of the women's bodybuilding division all my life. It's like, I love looking at male bodybuilders and so forth because I think the physiques are awesome. But you know what, the women bodybuilders, they're a lot better to look at.
True. Yeah.
So I was a huge fan, and Tim, I just emailed Tim. I had no idea how to do this. I said, hey, I heard you need some help, and Tim said, yeah, who are you? And I said,
right.
I'm this guy and that guy. I do this and that. And he said, well, hey, anybody who's willing to help, we're glad to have him.
Sure.
So,
well, and Tim's a great promoter, and certainly it's interesting because, fast forwarding a bit, that was kind of your foot in the door, and then you started to see Wings of Strength around a little bit more. Then you started to actually see it expand, and what you started seeing was you promoting and being a part of, not just sponsoring, but like I say, on the promotion end, on the the end of getting bodybuilding as a whole out there. So complete shows now, not just divisions. So you kind of gradually moved your way up, and then all of a sudden, there's a whole bunch of shows. But did your interest in bodybuilding as a whole increase over that time?
No, it didn't actually. I've some people have kind of pigeonholed me as being a fan of women's bodybuilding.
Right.
And I am, but that's not the only place I live. I mean,
sure. Yeah. Well, like I say, I'm really fast forwarding this because there's a lot to cover. But at some point, women's bodybuilding was literally on life support. Taken out of the Olympia, taken out of the Arnold, and you really stepped it up at that point. Now, you could have gone one of two ways. Let it ride, and wherever it goes, not really your deal. Or what you did, which was took the bull by the horns and said, you know what? I don't think this needs to die. I don't think this needs to go. I think it just needs to be revamped a little bit of insight, a little bit of ingenuity, and you went out and created your own.
Well, there's many things there. First of all, if you can let women's bodybuilding go away, the same thing can happen to men's bodybuilding.
Good point.
It's not going to happen. Not as long as I'm around to try to help things.
Right.
And I think really what happened to women's bodybuilding over the years. Sometimes I call Joe Weider the good shepherd of bodybuilding. The guy obviously was the single person having the biggest impact in what we do today. And one of the things that Joe did is, I think anyway, people can correct me if I'm wrong, like for instance, when LENDA was winning,
right?
There wasn't just LENDA being presented. There's a whole other litany of looks and images that were being presented. Most specific. I can't talk. Specifically, SHARON BRUNEAU.
Yeah, one of my favorites.
Yeah, fantastic. So Joe is smart enough to know you don't just present one look. Okay, you got to present many different looks, right? And appeal to a variety of people. The problem that we had during, let's say, Iris's era, and Iris is a fantastic competitor. She has one of the best physiques that ever walked across the stage. But the problem then was that, Joe was gone.
Yeah.
And nobody was there saying, hey, there's this too. Look at this and look at this. and presenting, a full spectrum of different
And to your point, Jake, I remember specifically, and I think I have it, a Muscle and Fitness on a cover. It was probably one of the last covers with a female bodybuilder on it, and it was Sharon Bruneau, Lenda Murray, and CORY Everson.
I remember that one, yeah.
With I believe with Joe Weider on an iconic cover. But it really embodied exactly what you're saying. It was 3 different spectrums of physiques, and the girls all look gorgeous on there. It was a very iconic cover. But to your point, Joe had that vision.
Yes, he did.
And your name now, obviously, as people are now figuring out who you are, that obviously, hey, it's the Olympia guy. He owns the Olympia now. Your name is being brought up as a, I want to be careful with this. Not another Joe Weider, in effect.
I'll never be another Joe Weider.
Nobody will. We all give Joe, obviously, the godfather of bodybuilding. And I understand what people are saying by that. Because for years, the last 14 years or so, 15, it was corporately owned, as everybody knows from AMI.
Yeah.
Now, that's a business proposition, and it was handled like a business proposition. I can't say there was a lot of passion on that side. The people that were working on the Olympia had passion. But you have passion. You're a bodybuilder. So people are really taking a liking to this Jake Wood guy, and that, wow, you know what? He's one of us.
Well, I hope I can live up to that. I mean, it's a tough order to fill sometimes, but we're going to do our best.
Big shoes, but you've got big shoes, Jake. So, but that brings me to the present. When you were watching the Olympia, the last, I don't know, we'll just take the last 2, 3, 4 years, okay? Is that something as you're watching, you're thinking to yourself, like, I would do this differently, or that could be done better, or if I owned the Olympia, maybe this is something I might look at. Did that ever go through your head?
Well, when I first started going to the Olympia, it was back in the late 90s, and a lot, I went for, was it from 2004 to 2014, and I never missed a single year. One of the things I saw, is I just didn't see a lot of change. I saw things were kind of stagnating.
Very true.
Yeah, not a lot of improvement going on, and I thought things could have been a little more, more dynamic.
Sure.
And of course, you don't want to go changing everything all at once. But yeah, I sat there for years thinking, it could be more fan friendly.
Sure.
It can be definitely more athlete friendly. To bring more to it, for the athletes and for the fans as well. You're going to see that here. This coming year, we're going to be trying hard to bring a lot more to the fans. And, there's a number of things that, like I say, have gotten slid off the table until next year because this whole COVID shuffle has just occupied all of our time here for a while. So,
well, it's forced your hand, clearly, like you say, with some things that you had to kind of, speed up, and other things, like you say, maybe put on the shelf until next year or so when, things are kind of back to norm, but we get a year under our belt. But this move, which was announced by Dan Solomon, my good friend and former PBW co-host for many years.
I want to say thank you to Dan. He has worked tirelessly.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, right man for the right job. Again, a lot of people don't know this. Dan started as a bodybuilder. He competed.
Oh, yeah. Yes,
he was involved in bodybuilding many, many years ago. Again, we did PBW for years as we were the first people out of the block to do a show, so to say, radio show. And Dan's the perfect man for the job. But yeah, he does work tirelessly, and but he also has passion. And now we're starting to see that return. Like I say, with yourself, with Dan Solomon, with Tamer El-Gindi, the producer of the Olympia weekend.
Yes.
Everybody knows Tamer's background, one of the best, Tim Gardner, added onto the team. And so you got some great, people around you. Alina Popa, obviously, part of the Wings of Strength team, Lenda Murray. So you've surrounded yourself with people that all have a love and a passion for bodybuilding. And I think that really sets the precedent, like you say, because we got to sell tickets. At the end of the day, we've got to brand the Olympia, we've got to sell tickets, but we've got to increase interest in entertainment in the Olympia.
Well, Dan and I originally started talking about this plan, let's say 2017.
Okay.
We kind of, devised the final blueprint for what we've done here.
Sure.
We have a great team, fantastic team. That's one of the things you have to have. It's not me. I'm not the guy who really makes the difference or the changes. I'm just the guy who helps facilitate those changes, and try to push things in the right direction, keep things from stagnating, keep moving forward.
Well, you've got the vision, Jake, and that's once you have the vision, I think all things are possible, and a lot of these changes we're starting to see already. There are some big differences, and I think some of them were long coming. Like you say, I think we did stagnate for a while. I think we were treading water for a lot of years. It was, don't get me wrong, the Olympia has always been the Olympia.
It's always been fantastic.
It's always been fantastic, yeah.
It's the pinnacle of the sport. It's the best athletes that are there. The athletes are the ones that brought the energy and made all the difference. Made it prestigious. Just there should have been more development.
Can we give a better product to the fans? Can we give a better product to the people who support and who do come out and they love bodybuilding? What can we do? There's a big difference. An arena is nice, and we've been there for years. It's got its pros and it's got its cons. But a theater-type setup.
I love the arena experience. It's huge. It's massive.
Yeah, it's over the top, but it limits you in some things, and there's other things you can do. I grew up in competing in theaters. Whether they be real theaters or high school type auditorium theater type settings.
Yes.
And that's always been to me bodybuilding. Now obviously we've got the Olympia, so it's hard to find a theater that kind of embodies that, but you did it.
Dan did that. He found the Zappos Theater there at Planet Hollywood. Just a fantastic theater. It has that same over-the-top feel in terms of the size of the stage and the capacity to handle a show and the capacity to handle all of the elements we want to bring in there. But it does something so much better than what the Orleans Arena did. And we're not going to ever talk bad about the Orleans Arena because those people were
No, it served us well for many years, but there's a lot, but by the same token, there's a lot of things you can do at a theater that you can't do at an arena.
We had a really hard time figuring out price points for things we're bringing over from the Orleans Arena.
Because the floor plan doesn't match up. It's two totally different things.
Because the problem is, at the Orleans Arena, you had the VIP seats, which were so much better than the non-VIP seats.
Right, right.
However, the problem you have at the Zappos Theater is the very best seat in the house is so excellent. But the very worst seat in the house is only marginally worse
not
than
bad.
the very best seat. There's not a bad seat in the place, so it's like, how do you differentiate?
And that's a huge bonus to the fans because, the distinction maybe in that, and obviously I know you've got people working with the floor plan and all that, but what a great fan experience. We're back on the Strip. We haven't been there since the Mandalay Bay days, and that was, again, 15 years ago. Again, I love Vegas.
That was 2005.
It'd be about the same because I think that was the first year. Actually, I believe 04 or 05, somewhere in there. Me and Triple H actually did the.
I remember I was there.
Did the, but the press conference, which is entertaining in itself. But it's funny because we started with some of that. It's almost like they started to go to that direction, and then it kind of fell off, and it laid way to budget cuts and other things that eventually became much of a fan experience. You know me, Jake. I mean, for many years now, I like that WWE style excitement and interest and having some fun. Not in a hokey way.
Yeah.
I think McMahon actually.
It was like Ronnie Coleman said there. He said, "This is bodybuilding."
Yeah, and that's and I think we can ride that fine line of we want a legitimate bodybuilding show.
Yeah.
Again, McMahon with the WBF years ago proved that. You can't marry the two, okay? It's not that integrated where you're going to alienate the bodybuilding fans, which is not a good thing. But there is a fine line there of making it entertaining, making it interesting, making it fun, making it professional. And I know these are all things on top of your list to give these fans back their experiences and all that. So
yeah, you got to realize, of course, one of the difficulties is. Yes, you want to make it more fun. You want to make it more interesting for the people sitting there in the audience.
Sure.
And that's a difficult job, as you know as well as anybody else. But the more you do to entertain the fans, sometimes the longer you make the show.
The Olympia obviously special in that it's the best of the best. And I think we can make significant changes in that to keep it the best of the best, but give a great fan experience.
Yes.
So I think these are I know these are some of the things that you're working on now. The cool thing, Jake, is that you made the moves necessary. Like I said, the COVID shuffle, as you refer to, which I love, has definitely given you your share of obstacles and hurdles to get over. But you acted fast, you did it, and you made the call initially to move it from September to December, to buy 3 months of time. I think this is instrumental that the Olympia lives on. We don't miss a year. And I know that was important for you, for these athletes, and for the fans to continue this on.
Yeah, well, I think I realize we're probably going to have to look at moving the Olympia as I'm sitting down with, Bob and Jim Lorimer and Dan Solomon, and for the first time I met Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Always interesting.
It was kind of a tense meeting because Arnold was, and they were all going through a hell at that point.
Yeah.
I mean, their show was getting trashed, and there was nothing they could do about it. And I'm sitting there looking at these guys, thinking to myself, this could happen to our show.
Very easily.
We're going down this direction. So the whole meeting just didn't have the levity, that it should have had. I was just looking at them going, oh my God, this is going to happen to us.
Well, that in itself obviously took on a whole new meaning when you had to, like I say, you literally had to make the move. Thank God you did, because like I say, we're alive and well. We're looking forward to December. The fans are looking forward to December. The athletes, I know, we're very grateful that, listen, in other sports, they've just canceled things for this year. This is fantastic. Looking forward to the changes. Talk to me just a quick minute about, because there's a lot of different pieces when it comes to these type of things that people don't understand. There's the Olympia itself, but we're also part of a federation, and that's the IFBB Pro League.
Truth.
Talk to me a little bit about your relationship with Jim Manion and how that has helped formulate bringing the Olympia to the next level.
Well, I think the first time I ever really got to know Jim was probably 2015. 2014 when we first started to formulate. What's going to happen now with women's bodybuilding? How are we going to have a new championship show?
Sure.
And that kind of forged our relationship at that point in time. There was some difficult issues. There were some easy issues, but it's always been great. I mean, Jim has always been there to be very supportive, to work with, great ideas. He loves bodybuilding.
Yeah, sure does.
And we want to see things go forward and be positive and grow. And he and I both have the same interest, in advancing everything. Sometimes we'll have different ideas about things, but that's normal. That's the way it should be. He came up working with Joe Weider. He's brought that experience forward, along with his own experience, and he's been, the glue that's held everything together for a long time. Really, honestly, when it comes right down to it.
Well, it's great to have his support, obviously, and I know you work hand in hand with Jim in the Pro League to make this happen. Finally, Jake, I know we're a little bit a ways away still from the Olympia, which is good because we've got a lot of shows, we've got athletes to get qualified. Are there any special precautions or preparations or things that we need to look at now, or is that simply let's kind of wait and see where we are in 3-4 months?
You're talking about health-wise, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, that's something that we're continuously monitoring right now. I mean, what's going to be available to us? What is the local jurisdiction going to say? I mean,
right. Vegas could have different rules.
Yeah, you have the gambling commission there, and you got the mayor and everything. It's one of those things where the parts are moving all the time, and one thing that we're investigating right now is how do you do rapid testing prior to the show before somebody goes in?
And you've got the expo to consider as well.
Yeah, hand in hand on that.
Right.
And it is difficult to figure out exactly what's going to be available, what we're going to need to do. Are we going to have a second wave of COVID problems? What's going to go on? We just don't know.
Sure.
And, we're working hand in hand with the guys there in Vegas. With Ken Flynn, he's our lead guy, kind of paying attention to these issues, and we're going to do whatever we have to do to make sure that everybody's safe. So now the difficult thing is what's going to happen if you got 5 people coming into the expo, they're a family,
right,
and everybody else is a test negative, one person tests positive. What do you do? It's going to be
definitely uncharted waters.
It's going to be a customer service issue that I don't
have
a good clue on right now.
Well, the good thing is I know you're looking at some different options, a potential pay-per-view for the fans to watch, obviously around the world, and that hasn't really been explored a whole lot over the years. So I know you've got a lot of those type of things that you're looking at.
We will, provided we can work out our plans and achieve the things that we want to achieve, we may be announcing some things regarding a pay-per-view here in the future. That's just so, there's a lot of moving parts on that. That was one of the big developments we really wanted to put forward for this year, but because we had to change hotels and deal with all that, it kind of got pushed back. Now we're trying to play a little bit of catch-up on it. So.
All right. Well, Jake, looking forward to it. I know the fans are very excited. The athletes certainly excited to get their Olympia experience on. So I appreciate everything you're doing for the sport. I'd like to thank you for taking a few minutes out, here at the Olympia headquarters, the Wings of Strength headquarters as well. Muscle and Fitness Hers, Flex Magazine. Those are all also under the Wings of Strength banner. So congratulations on that. Of course, right here at Digital Muscle. So you've got a lot of different moving pieces, but all roads lead to the Olympia.
They do, absolutely. They lead to the Olympia, and let's not forget about the Rising Phoenix.
And the Rising Phoenix still there.
Exactly.
That's right. So the World Championship's still on.
Absolutely. What a beautiful show. Yeah, it's strictly a women's show.
Yeah.
It's all about the power and everything that the women bring to the industry. People don't always realize to what degree they actually drive the industry here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
they're the majority. We were talking about that with the girls a little bit earlier. 2/3 of your athletes now are women. All the different women's divisions, from bodybuilding down to bikini. So they represent a whole lot. And I know you've got some things in the works, to kind of cater more to them, as they've largely been ignored over the years in terms of social media presence, things like that. But now with all those titles under your belt, and the outlets, all the social media outlets.
Yeah, I mean, obviously one of our goals is, to go ahead and bring up, the prize money level for the women's end of the sport.
Sure.
And you don't do that by giving the men a haircut. You got to do that by
very true.
You got to do that by organically growing what happens for the women.
Right.
And it's going to be a challenge, but.
Well, it's an exciting year. Excited for the new changes, Jake. I want to thank you for taking a few moments out of your busy day, and I know so there's lots more to come. That's going to wrap it up. We'll see you soon.